Hi, I'm David from Albi, and I'm super excited that I can present to you two novelties we are planning to release on this year's Spiel in Essen at the beginning of October. Those two novelties are sandbox dice-driven game Medieval Žižka and highly anticipated sequel to award-winning game Karak, Karak 2. So let's take a look on Medieval first. Medieval is a game for 1 to 4 players that takes about 60 minutes to play and is recommended for age 12+. Each of the players will become one of the mercenary captains in medieval Bohemia and try to earn as much fame as possible, both in honest and dishonest ways. The core mechanics of the game is building your party of mercenaries. Each of them will grant you special abilities, new dice, rerolls, etc. Your party will travel across the map, which is highly dynamic. There are multiple events and it's constantly changing. Each event is represented by a tile. On its backside you can see possible rewards and outcomes, and maybe sometimes some symbols you will need to succeed. On the front side there is a challenge. You need to roll as many symbols requested as you can, but you always have to fulfill the first row and other rows are optional. That means at the beginning of the game, when you have a weaker party, you will succeed only in 1, maybe 2 rows and get rewards from them, but in the end game you can succeed in the whole encounter and get plenty of rewards. The rewards are coins, it can be victory points, and also it can be, for example, moving your morale tracker. The morale tracker is also an important element of the game. Plenty of actions results in moving your morale tracker up or down. When you reach the top or the bottom level and you should move again up or down, you will instead receive 1 victory point, which is great. Because you can aim for those events on the game board and earn victory points through being really evil or really good. But there is a catch. Some of your party members are really saints or sinners. So if you are really good and you have sinners in your party, they will abandon you. Also, you won't be able to hire new party members with those affiliation to sin. Each of the tiles represents some event in the game world, for example, visiting a medieval town, laying siege to a castle, raiding outlaw camp, or, for the other hand, trading with outlaws, or helping the monks, I don't know, participating in a tournament which is available to all players in the game, and other encounters such as hunting, for example. As I have already said, on the back side of the tile you can see requested icons, requested symbols. So you can check your party if it's suitable for that event, or to look specifically for some events that your party is good at. For example, if you have a lot of bonuses for hunting, or a lot of sword icons in your party, or just a lot of dice, you can pick whichever event you want, travel there and try to fulfill it. Apart from a moral system, there are a few other ways how to earn points. Of course, there is plenty of points for fulfilling the events or specific roles in the events, especially for special difficult events called siege, where you lay siege to the castle and try to conquer it. But you can also earn points through tournaments, and you can earn points through sovereigns' favors. At the beginning of 15th century, Bohemia was a place of clash between two brothers, both of them kings, King Wenceslas and King Sigismund. And some of the events means you did a favor to them and you earned their favor token. If you should, by any means, earn it again, you instead earn 1 victory point. And if you lose that token to other player, you also earn 1 victory point. So there is another way how to quickly earn victory points. Just gain the favor token and then just look for the events with that favor token and earn and earn and earn. With the favor token, you also earn a special sovereign's dice, which you can use in the skill checks, and it provides some valuable icons that you find not so often on the other dice in the game. Some events in medieval also bring direct interaction into the game, because they can place a warrant on your head with a reward. The player who will be able to beat you in a skill check will earn the money from that reward. But if you can stay unbeaten for the rest of the game, you earn that money instead and transform it into victory points, which is great. The end of the game occurs when any of the players reaches 20 points, then you finish the round, and then the player with most victory points is the winner. What should I also mention is that each of the captains has a slightly different special ability, and that in the game is very straightforward but intriguing solo mode. So if you're a solo player, I think it might interest you as well. So this is Medieval and Žižka, dice-driven sandbox game set in 15th century Bohemia, where you're clashing over the castles and fighting with each other and gaining new party members to your retinue. But now let's take a look on different game for, I would say, a bit different audience. Let's take a look on anticipated Karak 2. Karak 2 is a sequel to a game called, well, Karak, but don't worry, you don't have to know or play the first game to be able to play and enjoy the second one. What those two games have in common is that they are both meant for families and they are both in a way introductory games. Karak 1 is introductory games to dungeon crawler genre, and Karak 2 is introduction to, let's say, 4X genre, maybe? Let's take a look. Karak 2 is for 2 to 5 players, slightly older than in the first game. It's 10 plus game, and the one play session takes about, let's say, 1 hour. In Karak 2, each of you will take a role of a hero with special abilities and aim to defeat the Dark Army and its general. The game is competitive, there could be only one winner. But in addition to traveling across the map and fighting the monsters as in the first game, you will also need to gather resources, build your city and train your troops in order to be able to defeat the armies of darkness. At the beginning of a game, You have 2 actions available for your turn, though throughout the game you might find means to have more actions during your turn. There are several options available you can do in your action. You can explore the map and find monsters, you can build your city, buildings in it, or train troops within your city. You can heal yourself, you can fight with a plague if it falls upon you, and you can pick up the item someone else dropped. Before each action you can move for 1 space, but you can also move without taking an action, and you can also take an action without movement that would precede it. One of the most basic actions is exploring the map. The map is made of hexagons, and each time you are on the edge of the map and you want to move further, you can add a new hexagon as part of your action. Then you have to put a monster army on it from the back, and then you have to move there and fight with the monster army. There are 2 tiers of the tiles in the game. The differences in the resource combinations you might find on them, but also that on tier 2 you place 2 monster army tokens instead of 1, and their power is combined. Also, between tier 2 tiles there is an Infernal Abyss tile which spawns the final boss of the game and thus leads to game's end. The combat system is very simple. Don't forget we're talking about family game here. So you have a dice of your hero, and you may have several dice of your units. You roll with all the dice you want. You just have to roll with hero's dice, but you can select whichever unit dice you want to roll. I will tell you why later. And then you count the sword icons on the dice rolled. If you have at least as many sword icons as there is a value on the monster army token, you've won, and you gain the reward on the other side of the token. Usually it's some item, but also can be a soul stone, which is a victory point, or some resources. You put items you've looted into your inventory. There are specific slots for each type of the item. So, for example, you can have only 1 talisman, which is a new type of item in Karak 2. You can have 3 spells and 2 weapons. And if you already have, for example, talisman, and you've looted a new one, you have to drop one of your talismans there, and someone else can pick it up as their action. But there are not just swords on the dice, there are also skull icons. And if you roll a skull, it can mean 2 different things. If you roll it on your hero's dice, it means you lose a hit point. If you lose all 5, you are knocked unconscious, and you have to spend 1 round getting back on your feet. But if you roll skull on a unit dice, it means that unit is lost. So you have to carefully select which units you want to use, because, for example, if the enemy is weak and you have plenty of dice, it's not necessary to roll all of them, because you just making more probable that you will roll some skulls. And you don't need that many swords actually, so it's probably better to keep a better dice for later fights and just roll few of them. There are basically no rerolls. Some of the hero's abilities allows you to reroll once, but we wanted to keep it as simple as possible, so that's it. You just take your dice, roll it, count the sword icons, resolve the skull icons, and then you either won or not. There can be few results of the fight. For example, you can win, but lose many units and up to 2 hit points. Or you can lose the fight without losing any hit point or unit. It's solely based on the result of the roll. Instead of exploring, you can, for example, gather resources. You can gather resources only on tiles without any monster army, and you always gain all the resources that are pictured there. So if there is, for example, food and wood, you take 1 food and 1 wood. If there are 3 stones, you take 3 stones. Those are actually the 3 resources of the game: food, stones and wood. If you have enough resources, you can build your city. City is very important because it's basically your base, and if you build it, let's say, in the neighborhood of really good tiles with good resources, you are halfway to the winning. You can build your city only on empty tiles, without any other heroes, cities or monster army tokens. And once you build your city, you may build buildings within its walls. There are 6 types of building in Karak 2. Stables, which grants you 1 extra action each turn. Then portal, which allows you to travel anywhere on the board from your city, or from anywhere on the board to your city once per turn. Glory banners, which raise your fame by 2. And then there are 3 buildings to train 3 types of units: knights, archers and mages, each with different cost and slightly different dice. For example, soldiers have less skulls but also less swords. Mages have the most swords but also most skulls, and the archers are something between those two. Each of the buildings is really valuable to your progress in the game, so it's difficult to pick up which one you want to start with and which one you want to build next. But it's important to build at least something to have a chance to win the game. Important mechanics associated with combat is fame. Fame basically says how many unit dice you can have. If my fame is 6, I can have 6 unit dice. If it's 0, I get 0. You get fame mostly by combat. There are other means, but mostly by combat. And it works like if I defeat an army with a strength of 2, and my fame is 2. But in order to raise the fame further, I need to defeat stronger armies. So if I defeat another army with a strength of 2 or 1, it gains me no fame. If I defeat 4, I have suddenly 4 fame and can afford to have 4 unit dice in my army. So it's important to find tougher and tougher enemies in order to raise your chances to win, because without unit dice, it's really difficult, well, let's say impossible, to defeat the Dark General, which is the final boss of the game. The game ends immediately after one of the players defeats Dark General, but it's not easy. Dark General himself has the power of 10, and he can has his Praetorian Guard, which grants additional strength to his army. But once you do that, the game is over. But it doesn't mean that the player who defeated the Dark General must necessarily become the winner. Throughout the game, some of the stronger monsters drop the soul stones as loot for you, and in the end, the player with most soul stones is the winner. Of course, the Dark General provides 4.5 soul stones, which is a lot. So everyone stays in the play until the very end of the game, because there is always, or almost always, at least a slight chance to become a winner, even if other players have already some soul stones and you do not. It is important to emphasize the meaning of heroes for the game and the way their abilities shape your playstyle. For example, Horan the warrior. His ability allows him to pillage, which means if he defeats a monster army, he immediately also gains resource tokens from that tile. And also he can reroll all of his unit dice if he wishes. Taya, the oracle, sees to the future, so she can select which monster army token she wants to add to the newly discovered tile. And also, as a master builder, he has cheaper buildings and cheaper city, which allows her to start faster than others in the early game. There is a new hero in Karak 2 that you couldn't see neither in Karak nor Karak Regent, and it's Darius. Darius is a scout, so he can select which tiles he wants to add to the board, for example one with better resources or something like that. And also he rides a raptor, which means he can defeat the army with a strength of 1 without fighting, which is also really great in early game. Then there is Elspeth. She can reroll her hero dice, and she can also, because she's riding a unicorn and it can ride straight through the air, she can move up to the free spaces. Then we have Lady Lorraine, which gets 1 unit dice at the beginning of the game. It's her loyal bear, and she can also scout the game board with the help of her falcon. And the final hero of the game is Lord Xanros. He's the warlock and he practices necromancy, so he can summon the skeletons, extra dice, very vulnerable, but and also very weak, but also cheap. They are for free only for an action, and he can also heal himself if he loses any unit, including skeletons, so great for him. Those are 6 heroes that will really shape the way how you play the game. But there is also one more. If you buy our game on Essen Spiel, you may get a promo of Victorious from the game 1, which comes to Karak 2. And also there is Darius from Karak 2 that you can play with in Karak 1. So there's 2 promos in one hero for Karak 2 and 1 hero for Karak 1. And there is one more thing. We know that you really enjoy playing Karak with our miniatures. So there is a set coming for Karak 2, and if everything goes well, you might be able to buy a few dozens of them on Spiel Essen. But if not, then they will be available later this year. And on the screen you can right now see the 3D renders of the miniatures. Of course, the final quality may differ a bit, but this is the target we're aiming for. I think they are really, really amazing. And that's it for our Essen 2023 releases. I hope to see you at our booth on Spiel. I hope you really like our games. For example, if you're a fan of Karak, the Karak 2 is a must-have. It adds a new layer to almost every part of a game while still staying simple and easy to learn and fast, and also very variable. But if the theme is not for you, or you are more like into not playing with kids, maybe medieval might be, because it's still fast and really easy to learn, but also quite complex on some levels. But if neither of those games do, maybe some other titles will do, like 2 Airs we published last year, the great 2-player game. And if not, just pay us a visit and see what else we have in store. There is more to come next year, but even this year I think it will be great, and I hope to see you all on the show floor. Have a nice day.